back to the range, and as everybody knows, this past year we had the Pro Bowl right before the Super Bowl in the same Super Bowl site. Then, today it came out that the Pro Bowl will go back to Honolulu, Hawaii, which is great, but it's still going to be the week before the Super Bowl. That's a major letdown for me, because now you're saying Super Bowl players got to go all the way to Hawaii, because to get their play introductions on like they did in Miami, and then got to get back on a plane and go to the Super Bowl site, which next year's Dallas. Still, that's a bit of a plane ride. So if I'm really ticked off at this one, mainly because the Pro Bowl goes back to its home. That's wonderful. But the fact that it's still the week before the Super Bowl, you got players who can't play in it. I mean, what happens to those players who play in the Super Bowl? They can't play in it. Drew Brees said he would have loved to play in the Pro Bowl this year. Peyton says he would have loved to play in the Super Bowl this year. Reggie Bush would have loved to play in the Pro Bowl this year. I mean, everybody says the Pro Bowl is a lot better. Because everybody, it's like an all-star game. You go out there and you do everything you want to do. But now you got to prepare for the Super Bowl. That's unfair for a lot of players, and I really hope that really changes after next year. Well, yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it's whack that they still have it the week before the Super Bowl. I mean, but if they move it back to Hawaii, I mean, that's great. That's where it needs to be from the start. But if I was like one of the players in the Super Bowl, I'd be like, hell, free trip. I mean, I still get honored, but I mean, I would still want to play because it's a privilege to get voted in. And yeah, that's one thing. I mean, that's one thing I don't get about the NFL, man. If it's not broke, then don't try to fix anything. I mean, it was great. It was great just the week after the Super Bowl, like the way it should have been, the way I'm used to watching it, even though sometimes, most of the time, I wouldn't watch the Pro Bowl because, I mean, Super Bowl's over. But I feel that they need to bring it back to the original, like the week after Super Bowl, and just end all this hoopla, because this is really ridiculous.
Yeah, and looking at it from a player standpoint, going down to Hawaii, then coming back to the Super Bowl site is just, it's ridiculous, because that's like at least 3 to 4 day trip, because you're in there in Hawaii, you got the introductions. It's the only reason you're there is because you want to get inducted and you want to be known as a Pro Bowler. You get right back on a plane and you get at least back to your team. This year probably will be in Dallas, because you're back to your team, and then you're like 4 days behind in scheduling practice for the Super Bowl, for the game that you want to play in, that you want to win more than anything else. You want to be there. Super Bowl is a whole lot bigger to teams than just being in a Pro Bowl and making an appearance in it. So, like you said, JB, just putting it after the Super Bowl makes a lot more sense for everybody.
Pro Bowl, I mean, it stinks. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, they can do away with it. I really don't care. But it should go after the Super Bowl, pretty much. That way everybody can play in it, so all the fans can see all the people they wanted to play rather than substitutions or the replacements. But it doesn't matter to me. I don't really care. My team hasn't been to the Super Bowl, or anybody off my team to the Pro Bowl in a while, so it's a sore subject for me. Yes, it is.
And the worst thing is that how the Pro Bowl is played out. Like this past Pro Bowl that came out was just, it was pretty much a terrible. It was there was no reason why the players should have been playing anyways. So I definitely see from your point, Chris, as to why there's a reason to have it. So, but it's still like, it doesn't make sense to have it before. Now I think I'm maybe on Chris' side of agreeing that they should just get rid of it totally. No complete waste of time.
Well, I just believe, putting it after the Super Bowl, that's a chance for everybody to play. Now, nobody, what has happened even to the Pro Bowl for the skills competition? You don't even hear about that anymore. Because none of the, premier players can play it. I mean, the Super Bowl participants, I mean, you think, Peyton Manning want to do precision drills right there at the Pro Bowl? The skill child with the precision drills? That would have been great. He wanted to do that. But you can't do that if you're preparing for the Super Bowl. I mean, you can't do that. So, I mean, you got people who do, the pass, punt, and kick thing. I mean, they can't do that because your kicker may be playing in the Pro Bowl, in the Super Bowl. it's not fair. They really need to go ahead and get back to the old way. Same place, same time as it always was. The Saturday after the Super Bowl, in the afternoon. That's what it has to be in Hawaii.
Sounds good to me. Speaking of the Pro Bowl, I want to talk about college basketball. Anyways, again, expansion is on the rise. Yes, it is.
Well, yeah.
Instead of 96 teams possibly, now they're thinking about just having it to where the top 1 seeds and the top 2 seeds, all of them just get a first round bye, and they have play-in games. Now, this would be good because it'll get more bubble teams, the big bubble teams, that will probably go to the NIT into the tournament, which would create more revenue. But if you expand it to the 96, you'll have even more bubble teams, which makes the NIT even more worthless. So I ask you, should we just have the top 8 teams get the first round bye and just add in just a little bit more of the bubble teams, or should we go to 96, add in all those bubble teams and some teams that really wouldn't make it to the tournament if it was still the same way? What would you say?
Well, I mean, we see a lot of the number 1 team basically always beat the number 16 team.
Yes, they do.
That's how it's always been. Those are the easiest games to pick.
Yes, they do. Yes,
You know what I mean? You always know, that's gonna happen. So if I were them with a 16 team playing a lower than number 1 seed, I would love to see that. I'd love to see a 16 team play like a number 4 seed or something. Gives them a better shot at it. Makes it a little bit more even. Now, as for expanding it, I would love to see it expanded, but not to people who think they just deserve to be there. Like, hate to say it, Carolina, because this is helping Carolina get into the big dance. I don't like to see that happen. It helps a struggling team like UConn into the dance. I don't like to see that happen because they don't deserve to be there. And if you don't deserve to be part of the top 65 teams, then you don't deserve to be the top 72 teams. So I would love to see it where the expanded part does happen, but not only for the schools who the committee just thinks, oh, you know what? Well, they just won last year; they need to be in it. Or hey, you know what? It is a big name, big name school; they need to be in it. Don't give leeway to teams who don't deserve to be there.
Well, that was well said. Yeah, like I believe that. I mean, I'm all for expanding it, but just not to 96. I mean, 96. I don't think the tournament really needs that many play-in games. Anyway, me personally, I'm not too much of a fan of the play-in games anyway, because you get the first win of the NCAA tournament, but you get the top number 1 seed, top number 1 overall seed of the tournament anyway. So that's kind of like a thank you for your time, and now lose by 50. But I would say the teams that earn the right, as far as them playing for an NCAA berth in their conference tournaments, I say they get in. And if maybe you have a team that has a great RPI and they have good quality wins against, let's say, about 4 to 5 of the top teams that are already qualified in the tournament that are from the bigger conferences, then yeah, maybe you could give them consideration. But I hate to say it, like my Tar Heels, yes, it's a down year. I mean, they've played mediocre, and in order for them to get in the tournament, they're gonna have to win the ACC tournament. So I don't see them any way. I don't see them getting in any other way. So that's my opinion of expanding the tournament.
Yeah, I think that it's just like just how you said. It's nice to expand it. Giving other teams upper opportunities as well. But I think that if you look how the tournament is broken down, you say that a team suddenly gets on, like say, a run, like they actually start playing well, and they go all the way to the tournament, and the team that should not even been there from the start, that would be like a huge Cinderella. But I would think of it as a major disappointment because the top teams never had a chance to actually do anything. So I don't agree at all with the expanding to 95 and getting rid of the NIT tournament at all. But maybe just making a small opportunity for at least the first round to get a bye. So I think that would help them out a lot.
But all in all, it all depends on how they pick the teams, pretty much. But we'll be right back with more on the ring.